Kev, this is a total nightmare for LA and Luka. His regular season is officially over, but word is he's sidelined indefinitely. Forget about the postseason. Luka is done, yet that's barely the wildest part of this story. The Lakers are about to pull the trigger on a move that'll rock the entire league. Let's break down the chaos, LeBron's reaction, and the massive fallout for every other team. The exact moment the wheels fell off, it was April 2nd, 2026, when LA faced off against the Thunder. Honestly, it was a complete blowout. OKC crushed them 139-96, but the score wasn't the headline. Luka was. Luka caught a twinge in his left hammy during the opening half, so medical staff gave him a look. They gave him the green light to get back out there. Coach Reddick claimed the medical team cleared him, so he checked back into the game. Then, with 7 minutes 39 seconds left in the third, disaster struck. LA was trailing big. Luka attacked the rim and went into his signature spin. The second he planted that left leg, he was clutching the back of his thigh in pain. He hobbled toward the baseline before collapsing. That was the last we saw of him. Now, Dončić might even get disqualified from season awards following that devastating hamstring tear during last night's clash with the Thunder. Check out his final numbers for the night. 12 points on 3 for 10 shooting, 1 for 7 from deep, 5 for 6 at the line, 4 boards, 7 dimes, a steal, and 6 giveaways over 26 minutes. That is nowhere near the typical Luka magic we're used to seeing. By April 3rd, he was in Dallas getting an MRI to see the damage. The scans confirmed the worst, a grade 2 strain in his left hamstring. Kev, this is just soul-crushing for the franchise, and for Luka personally. He's finished for the regular season, but the bad news doesn't stop there. Sources say he's also sidelined for the foreseeable future throughout the playoffs. We're talking about a significant grade 2 tear here. For a guy who lives on that explosive first step and sudden moves, this is a career-stalling blow. When you have a superstar of his level, who depends entirely on that agility and rhythm, this situation is basically the Lakers' worst nightmare come to life. A grade 2 injury means those muscle fibers are actually partially torn. It brings some serious pain and completely kills your range of motion. You're usually looking at 4 to 6 weeks just to get back on the court. Some insiders think it could be 8 weeks if his recovery hits any snags. Dr. Brian Sutterer, the go-to injury expert on YouTube, broke down the mechanics of the snap. He called it a textbook case of a deceleration injury. As Luka planted for that spin, his hammy was working overtime to break his momentum. The muscle simply reached its breaking point. The sheer force snapped those fibers, resulting in a painful tear. This is the clearest example of a hamstring failing under sudden deceleration. These injuries happen the moment you try to slow down or pivot quickly, forcing the muscle to fire aggressively just to stop your body's weight. But here's the kicker that has fans fuming. Luka already felt the tweak in the first half. The medical crew inspected him, gave the nod, and he returned. Then things collapsed. Dr. Sutterer noted the team isn't necessarily at fault. Longtime Luka fans recognize this cycle immediately. Critics are attacking since we saw Luka clearly favoring that leg. They performed medical checks. JJ Redick confirmed they cleared him to return to action. Yet, a specific logic drove their decision. He looked ready, so they let him play. I won't blame the veteran because I joke with Dallas fans about those typical Luka scare moments. His history of grinding through pain made this extremely deceptive. He often retreats to the locker room mid-game. He looks like he's in total agony, but the routine stays consistent. He resurfaces. He'll rejoin the game immediately, looking completely fine. Anthony Edwards shares that same trait. For a player known for false alarms, this was no minor knock. This was serious. With 5 games left, the Lakers must finish without Dončić. He's officially sidelined for the season and his postseason availability is that one word. LA fears uncertain. This wasn't his only hamstring flare-up this year. In early February 2026, he strained that left side. That injury sidelined him for 4 games before the break. He returned post-break and kept grinding. 60 days later, the muscle failed, a classic re-injury risk. Re-tearing a muscle in one season is a massive red flag. That's why this situation feels so crushing. This was game 64 for Luka. Just 1 game away from a season-altering milestone. the 65-game threshold, and the lost trophy. The league's 65-game eligibility is simple on paper. To qualify for major honors like MVP or All-NBA status, plus Defensive Player of the Year or Most Improved trophies, need 65 games, logging 20 minutes in 63 of those. They launched this rule in 2023 to 24 to stop rest days, specifically targeting stars who sit out to stay fresh. Luka finished with 64 games. He was one night short. One more 20-minute appearance, then his legs snapped against Oklahoma City. The opportunity vanished with brutal total finality. His seasonal statistics were mind-blowing. He topped the league, scoring 33.5 nightly, averaged 8.3 assists, 7.7 rebounds, and 1.6 steals. He even secured March Player of the Month honors. For 4 weeks, he was a force of nature, torching the league without mercy. He dropped 30-plus points in 13 straight appearances. He went off for 40 repeatedly and cracked 50 several times, stunning the crowds and leaving experts digging through record books. Journalists ranked him number 4 in the latest Most Valuable Player polling. Only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, and Nikola Jokic stood ahead of him. Most people viewed him as a dead certainty for the first team, All-NBA. His second scoring crown looked like a done deal. But all those stats are worthless under this rule because 64 simply isn't 65. Bill Duffy, his representative at WME Basketball, immediately jumped into action. Duffy stated the Lakers and Players Union would contest the 65-game threshold, citing special conditions for Luka. Their appeal focused on 3 main arguments. 1, the unfortunate timing of his physical setback. He went down in Game 64, just one shy of the limit, after battling through pain all year. Number 2, he sat out twice to witness his second daughter, Olivia's birth on December 4th, 2025, in Slovenia. He crossed the globe to be present, then rushed back to play on December 6th. And finally, his legendary play style, which pushed the Lakers to the West's 3rd seed during a cutthroat MVP battle. As for Luka Dončić, it's heartbreaking that he will likely watch the start of the postseason from the bench. Yet, missing the playoffs is only the tip of the iceberg. The loss of eligibility for honors is equally gut-wrenching. This 65-game mandate could strip him of any chance at MVP or All-NBA accolades. While the league mulls over the appeal, all the odds makers have already reached a verdict. BetMGM wiped Luka off the MVP boards completely, erasing his historic run. But here is the kicker, a sickening irony that Tim Bontemps pointed out on national television. That April 2nd matchup with the Thunder should have marked his 65th appearance, but it did not count because he was serving a single-game ban earlier that week after racking up 16 technical fouls throughout the year. Had he just kept his cool with the officials over the full schedule, if even one whistle had gone the other way, he would be sitting pretty at 65 games instead of 64. That is how razor-thin the line is. It is cold-blooded, but he isn't the only one suffering in this mess. This 65-game policy has absolutely wrecked the 2025-26 season in a way we have never seen. Around 12 major icons are already disqualified or heading that way. Take Anthony Edwards, who only suited up for 58 or 59 nights due to knee issues in Minnesota. He is an elite talent with zero chance of reaching 65. Detroit's Cade Cunningham is sidelined for the foreseeable future after a lung injury on March 17th. He was putting up 24.5 points and 9.9 dimes as a legit MVP contender carrying the Pistons to the top of the East, yet he is disqualified now. Steph Curry sat out about 23 contests with a bad knee. Giannis Antetokounmpo was sidelined for over 15 matchups with leg injuries. Even LeBron James missed 18-plus games with foot issues in February, snapping his 21-year run of All-NBA honors. Booker's name leads, plus Kawhi, Jimmy with his blown knee, and AD's post-swap handbrake, then Embiid. It's a triage list from a war nobody wanted. Even guys still in the hunt were skating on thin ice. Nikola Jokic had 61 appearances, possessing just a one-night safety net. Victor Wembanyama, clearly an MVP lock and defensive juggernaut, sat 16 games and needed nearly every remaining night to qualify. The Athletic branded this trophy race a total disaster, a policy built to fight laziness that actually crippled those refusing rest warriors who battled through agony until they finally snapped. That off-court struggle, plus the hamstring and eligibility drama, was a nightmare for any pro. But for Luka Dončić, these events were merely footnotes in a chaotic year beyond basketball. He's a man who views the court as his sanctuary. Knowing the truth about his home life, those words take on a crushing, unbearable significance. Luka and his partner, Anna Maria Goltes, dated since 2016 after meeting as children. They got engaged in July of 2023. Their daughter, Gabriella, arrived on November 30th, 2023. Outwardly, they seem to be living the perfect dream life. Childhood sweethearts raising kids while he dominates the world's biggest league. Then the swap happened. On February 2nd, 2025, LA got Luka for AD and more. It ranked as a premier shocker in league history. Luka confessed that his first reaction was purely devastated. He envisioned himself retiring as a Mavs lifer. Peers around the NBA called it total sacrilege. Dallas fans turned their fury toward GM Nico Harrison. Jason Kidd avoided the blame while the trade shattered everything. While Luka adjusted to Hollywood, new teammates, and Redick's system under that brutal big market glare, a painful distance between him and his family began to grow. By May 2025, Goltes reportedly moved back home while expecting their second child. His daughter, Gabriella, stayed 3 months in America, but his second daughter, Olivia, born December 4th in Slovenia, has never even seen California. That birth forced Luka to miss 2 Lakers contests. He flew home for the birth, shared 1 photo, then zipped back to LA for a game on the 6th. Just 2 games missed for his newborn. Now those nights fuel his legal fight against the 65-game rule. The irony cuts deep like a razor. Things turned ugly right in the delivery room, with reports of a massive blow-up just moments after the birth. Goltz actually called the cops. The police showed up but found no evidence of any crime or a misdemeanor. Word is, Luka hasn't laid eyes on his 2 daughters since early December 2025, marking 4 months of absence leading to his hamstring tear in April 2026. The drama just kept spiraling out of control through that winter and spring. On February 26, 2026, Luka hit the Slovenian courts with a legal filing demanding an emergency visit with his daughters. Then, on March 9th, 2026, TMZ broke the news that Goltes was suing in LA for child support and legal costs. Hours later, Luka confirmed the split to ESPN and started hitting back. He claimed he was totally blindsided by the legal filing. He slammed Goltes for picking the wrong court, California instead of Slovenia, where the kids actually live, just to chase a bigger child support payday. He even pointed out that he is not technically a resident. He stressed he is still paying every expense for his girls without any limits. His official statement on March 10th, 2026 said, "I love my girls more than anything in this world, and I have done everything to have them with me in the States during the season, but it just hasn't worked out. So I recently made the hard choice to end the engagement. Every move I make is for my daughter's happiness, and I will never stop fighting to be there and give them a great life." Mid-March, right as Luka was playing the most insane basketball of his entire career. 13 straight 30-point games, several 40-point nights, 50-point heaters, he was the undisputed player of the month in the West. He was carrying the Lakers while fighting a secret war to see his own children, managing a messy international legal battle, dodging rumors about an American actress, and watching Goltes wipe him completely from her Instagram, keeping only photos of the kids, essentially deleting him from the family while keeping everything else. And through all of that, the custody war, the hospital police reports, the shade, the social media deletions. Through all that noise, Luka hit the hardwood and played like a man possessed. He said the court was his only real getaway. He called basketball his therapy and his only sense of peace. Then his hamstring snapped, and even that was gone. The whole NBA was left reeling. News of Luka's injury sent a massive shockwave through the entire league. This wasn't just one player going down. It was the boiling point of a frustrating season, shattered bodies, and rules that seemed to be destroying the very stars they meant to save. Suddenly, everyone with a microphone, a camera, or a stream had something to say. LeBron James, Luka's vet, and the face of the franchise was blunt and brief after the blowout loss to the Thunder. When reporters probed Luka's mess and the award implications, LeBron just said, "Health is everything. Time will tell." Just 3 words, no long-winded speech, no extra fluff. A 41-year-old vet who'd already seen his 21-year All-NBA streak die from that 65-game limit, watching his young teammate hit the deck with a freak injury that threatened to wipe a legendary season right off the maps. King James had already sat out over 18 matches this year, including that rough February patch when his joints were acting up. Even at 41, he was dropping 21.8 points and 6.9 dimes. Yet, the math already disqualified him. He got it better than anyone else in that room. He knew exactly the price Luka was paying. But the loudest noise didn't even come from the Lakers camp. Jaylen Brown from the Celtics hopped on his Twitch stream, which was already the go-to spot for raw, honest hoops talk, and went on a tear, exposing the double standards surrounding this 65-game circus. Brown kicked off by giving Luka some serious credit for his incredible run. San Antonio is grinding. Oklahoma City is making moves. Look at the Lakers, or Luka's recent insane run. He definitely wasn't shy about showing the man some major respect. Keeping it a buck, Luka is just on another planet, man. That man's bucket-getting sense and raw talent for finding the rim are basically superhuman. Then, Brown shifted gears to the real problem. The rule itself and how everyone suddenly changed their tune. The main thing everyone's buzzing about in the league is that 65-game cutoff. It's hilarious how people just keep moving the goalposts. He pointed out that people weren't always this mad about it. When it first dropped, pretty much everyone was nodding their heads in agreement. Back when the 65-game mark was set, the support was almost total. This thing only exists because people were sick of stars skipping games for no reason. Exactly. Because back then, people were venting about guys doing... What was the phrase? What's that term again? Load management. But now that actual injuries are sidelining stars, the vibe has totally flipped. That flip-flopping is exactly what Brown was calling out. Brown made sure to distance himself from the angry crowd. He clarified he wasn't necessarily a fan of the 65 number itself. He felt 62 was the sweet spot. For the record, 65 never sat right with me. I always figured 62 was the fair mark. 65 just felt a little too steep, you know? Still, he backed the logic of the rule with an argument that's hard to poke holes in. Think about it before. Dudes were playing 40 or 50 games and still snagging all NBA spots. That just isn't fair to the grinders who punch the clock every single night. Brown's final takeaway was blunt. You can't just clock in for half the year and expect the same paycheck as the full-timers. It's a massive gap. That's exactly why this change was necessary. You shouldn't be making first-team All-NBA after only playing 45 or 50 games. Meanwhile, the big boss Adam Silver went all in on the mandate during the Board of Governors sit-down. The March meetings turned toxic once Cade Cunningham's injury sparked a firestorm. Silver's take? The system is working. He wouldn't cave just because one superstar felt the sting of unfairness. Sure, he felt for the guys stuck on the trainer's table, but he argued the core mission was finally a success. Fewer elite names skipping those massive primetime TV matchups. He reminded everyone the union signed off, no policy pivots were happening. That stance ignited a riot once Luka and Edwards hit the injury report. People labeled Silver's logic as completely out of touch, claiming he chose a rigid playbook over the actual chaos on the court. On the set of ESPN's Get Up, Tim Bontemps slammed the policy, calling for immediate medical waivers. Listen, this goes way beyond just Luka Dončić. Detroit just confirmed Cade is sidelined for at least 7 more days. The fallout for award eligibility was snowballing across the league. The debate wasn't about whether these stars were world-class. Any fan watching the tape knew they were dominant, and the stats proved it. Luka leads in scoring, with Ant at number 3. Cade is the engine of a Detroit squad holding the top seed out east. Even the head coaches were venting about how the rules goal had backfired spectacularly. Bon temps put à concrète fixe on the table. Any star hitting 2,000 minutes who then suffers a major blow deserves a pass, letting the actual voters make the call. My plan, log 2,000 minutes, get a real injury, get a waiver. When it came to the actual awards, the choice was obvious. Just leave the decision to the people with the ballots. I mean, honestly, you can't check a ballot and deny Luka a first-team All-NBA spot. His partner, Mike Greenberg, pushed back with a different angle. He backed the rule's intent, saying if you want a villain, blame the guys who started the whole rest day culture. But even Greeny had to confess the rule wasn't built to crush real injuries. An All-NBA list without these three is a farce. The Players Union, led by Andre Iguodala, fired off a statement calling the rule stiff and demanding a total overhaul. Stephen A. Smith initially doubted Luka's mid-game pain, wondering if the red-hot star might be dodging the grind until the tape proved the injury was undeniable. He then flipped into a classic, high-octane rant about the 65-game rule creating a mess and robbing Luka of his legacy. The media voice from Yahoo and CBS to Forbes, The Athletic, and every major desk was totally in sync. This mandate was failing miserably, destroying reputations and voiding massive contracts. Isaiah Stewart summarized the locker room frustration with one blunt sentence: honestly, this stings. Los Angeles is entering their final 5 matches without their top bucket getter, their floor general, and the entire engine of their offensive scheme. They're clinging to a 1-game advantage over Denver for that 3rd spot in the West. Holding the tiebreaker against the Nuggets, Rockets, and Wolves offers a bit of a safety net. But a safety net is useless unless you actually rack up wins, and trying to win without Luka Dončić is a completely different ballgame. Primarily, with Luka sidelined, who is going to take charge? We are talking about the home stretch and the looming postseason. According to the numbers, the person who needs to deliver might be a shocker. Personally, when I look at who has to bridge the gap right now, it is Austin Reeves. I realize most fans are looking straight at LeBron James. However, the logic for choosing Reeves over LeBron is about the team hierarchy. Why? Because LeBron is already the king. It makes perfect sense for everyone to expect number 23 to carry the load. The reasoning is quite basic. If Reeves is the designated second star, then when the leader goes down, the lieutenant has to become the general. For me, if Reeves is the next man up, if that is how the roster is built, you are the secondary weapon. So you are the one who simply must produce. Austin Reeves proved back in October and November that he is fully capable of leading a high-powered offense. During October, he was putting up 32 points, 9 assists, and 5 boards per game. In November, he averaged 27.6 points and 5.5 assists on 53% shooting. That elite version of Reeves is exactly what LA needs right now. But Austin has been hot and cold lately, starting slow and coughing up the ball too often. The luxury of having those off nights has completely disappeared. At 41 years old, LeBron is forced to carry a massive burden again, regardless of whether that is a fair ask. The third option strategy is officially dead. There will be nights where LeBron has to be the primary scorer, the main ball distributor, and the endgame closer a role he hasn't owned since before Luka arrived in town. Aside from those two, the entire roster has to over-deliver. DeAndre Ayton needs to become a much bigger threat in the paint. Rui Hachimura has to regain his touch from behind the arc. Luke Kennard will be tasked with much more playmaking duties. If Marcus Smart returns this weekend, his defensive grit and passing will be crucial. Coach J.J. Redick is going to have to expand his rotation, giving minutes to guys who have mostly been riding the pine, and trusting bench players in do-or-die moments they aren't prepared for. So, the Lakers are praying Luka's hamstring heals fast, while hoping the league appeal passes so his historic season isn't disqualified from awards. Bron and Reeves must deliver, while the crew fights to keep Luka's return meaningful. They're 43-21 with him active. No Luka? 7-6. That gap outshines any press coverage. Smash like and tap that card. Keep watching.